Okay, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're coming from. It's me here with Itzik going over CTF number 5. We're going to show how to solve it. And this is part of our secure coding training that we're doing here. A lot of people have attempted to solve this CTF challenge. I think like what, over 2,000 now, and I think like 20 something succeeded. So and I really like this one because it's very realistic. To be honest, this is something that I've seen happening quite a lot. Security by obscurity. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, with that said, Itzik, I'll give you the stage. Why don't you take us through what's going on here? How did people try to attack this, and what's the right solution?
Absolutely, absolutely. So a few words about what we're seeing here. So this is, as you can see, the CTF requests us to find Willy Wonka's secret. Okay, so obviously there's some secret going on here. It's a series of 3 API endpoints that can be ripped off of any type of application. A lot of applications have all sorts of APIs. One of them, the first API here at the bottom, if I scroll down, first API fetches the companies, okay, based on, or a company based on a company ID. This API here, users, fetches the users based on the company ID. So if you give it company ID or IDs, it's actually accepting an array, fetches all the users of those companies. And the last one here is, fetches the secret, specifically only the secret, based on, if you have the user IDs, it fetches the user IDs. So the user IDs, as you can see from here, are all UUIDs. Okay, so I got company ID, that's a real company ID from the system, and I would try to get Willy Wonka's secret. So as you can see, those are UUIDs. And basically, the main issue here, okay, that you need to notice is that sometimes we confuse security with obscurity, as Gabby mentioned. In this case, what happened here, the developer said, okay, nobody's going to guess IDs. I'm auto-generating them. They're random. There's no way to guess them. They're too long. And they're probably right on actually guessing them, even though there are methods to do that. But it can't replace security. And that's what this CTF is all about. Okay? So what happens here is that, yes, we don't know all the IDs. And we need to figure them out. But the main concept is there's always a way to figure out IDs. Not always, but 99% of the time, there's a way to get those IDs somewhere. In this case, we left another vulnerability here, which is NoSQL injection. In this API, the company, the one that fetches the company, you can see here that the request body company ID is not sanitized. Also is actually using a single value, which means that I can maybe try to nest, conditions here. Nesting conditions with an inner JSON for NoSQL is the best way to do NoSQL injection. And that's what I'm going to try to do, okay? So as, a developer looking at this and trying to hack into it, I would try to nest that condition. So to do that, I would have to use, since this, challenge goes to secret, and I'm not yet ready to reveal Willy Wonka's secret, I would have to start using something else. In this case, I'm going to use Postman to actually post a, a request to the company's API, which I found is vulnerable to SQL injection. And I actually provided to it the this nesting, which I said not equals none. So any company that is company ID that is not null should be fetched. So it's a very simple NoSQL injection. I hit send, and you can see here I already ran it before. See here all the companies in the system. Okay, so that gives me a lot, because instead of trying to guess any ID, I can go and get those IDs right from right here. I can get all the IDs of the companies. I might have more. In this example, only 3 companies. And then step number 2 for me would be, okay, let's use those IDs to go and get the users. So I know where Willy Wonka is and what's Willy Wonka's ID. so I can fetch the secret. So with that API, users in this case, okay, I go and I provide all the company IDs from what I found before from the NoSQL injection scenario. And I hit send, and I'm getting all the users in the system. And guess what? Here's the company ID, and here's the user ID for Mr. Willy Wonka. With that, if I go back to the code, I have this API that is called um, secret. Okay, it's actually the route is secret. And then what I can do, I can just provide the user IDs, in this case only one, with here. So I can go, oh, sorry, actually I can do it directly here. I can go and paste here the ID that I need. So let's do it together. Okay, I'm gonna get this ID. Okay, copy it, go here, and say user IDs. We have to remember that it's an array. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and that's all I need because I want to fetch Willy Wonka's secret. So we click hack, and oh, sorry, what did I do wrong? Oh, interesting. Let's go and do this here. Secret. So that's Willy Wonka's secret. For some reason, our CTF didn't capture that. I'm not sure why, but that's the result, and that's how I get into the leaderboard. I should have gotten into the leaderboard. I'll check that out.
Oh, maybe because I think because it was if you go up,
yeah,
I think all the way up. So this is a retired challenge. Maybe that's why.
No, it should still allow me to get the response, but I'll check that later. But anyways, this challenge actually, no, in this case I got the secret. Okay, so I didn't get the flag, but I did get the secret. That's Willy Wonka's secret. So I'm done. For some reason the CTF wasn't identified here, but I'll check that. But that's the secret. So I got the response, and that's all I need.
Okay. So to summarize, and I think there's a lot of lessons learned here, and I've seen that happening over and over again. When you don't have good enough authorization and authentication, basically people use, like we said at the beginning, obscurity in order to provide security. So they're thinking, who can guess this GUID or UID? Like nobody can guess it. It's a very, very long number. So it's secure. But
I took the wrong ID, Gabby. Sorry.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I took the wrong ID. I took the one from one other user. So here's our flag, and that's the actual ID that I should have taken. Sorry.
Gotcha.
But now I got the flag.
Yeah. So lesson learned, guys. And you can't just think that if you're using an ID that nobody can guess, that's something that will basically keep you secure. We need to have authentication, authorization, and we'll let you talk about that in a second a little bit more and how to do that. But I've personally seen that, happening a lot. And I think it's a great example how someone, basically the mindset of an attacker, how they're looking for multiple API points to gather information and prepare that for the attack. So an attack is not just like, let's attack this API alone. You can have another API that is actually perfectly secure, and there's nothing wrong with it except that it's returning the company ID. And you know what? It doesn't even have to. Just somebody did select all and captured all the columns, and it's returning, everything. So I've seen that happening many times. And when somebody looks at that, they say, okay, what can they do with this company ID? Well, if you're an attacker, every piece of information like this allows you to use it in another attack.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably the main takeaway here, even though there are a few more takeaways. We have the walkthrough here on here. If you click this link here under the code, you will get to this page, which explains basically what we just went through and explained. What's wrong with the approach? What are the issues here? There are two issues actually. The UUIDs can't perform well as security. It's just obscurity and it's not enough. And obviously the NoSQL injection, but in this case it was NoSQL injection. And as Gabby mentioned, could be other ways. There could be a web page where you view the source and the IDs are there. There could be other things. It can't replace security. Okay. So the main takeaways here, which I think are important, is the first one is obviously never count on the UUIDs as security. Those are not security. It's just random picked IDs. They can't be served as security. And the best practice here is really important. Implement proper access control, including authentication and authorization. Without that, without the ability to actually know who's actually operating those APIs, you won't be able to protect your code, and you might get access. You might give people access to non-authorized data. Obviously, the points about NoSQL injections are real. Those are real things. We need to keep on thinking about sanitizing our inputs. And then in terms of tightening the logic of the code, I mean, it's not a solution, but it's always important. We talked about it before as well. Going in and looking at what is our code doing at any, scenario, in this case, could have prevented us. Because we created an API that is supposed to return a single company, and it's not. It actually returns multiple companies because I'm using NoSQL injection to hack it. So it's really important to create a tight piece of code that doesn't allow any logic that is unintended to go through. So that's another takeaway. But obviously, the main one is what you said, Gabby. Access control is extremely important, and random IDs can't replace access control.
So let's call this vulnerability by name, right? This is an IDOR for people that basically want to categorize this somehow. So this is an IDOR. There are a lot of them. They're happening, and a lot of them are guesswork in terms of how attackers are finding them. They see, for example, an invoice ID, and then they just start enumerating. Okay, if that's 1001, let's see if I can capture 1002. So this is something that there's a lot of variations of this, and it's very hard to detect those type of vulnerabilities using scanning tools, because it's the logic, it's the problem. It's the access control, the problem. It's not necessarily the line of code that says invoice ID equals whatever. So this is just another example why people need to learn how to develop secure code, because just relying on tools to find vulnerabilities for you, it's good for low-hanging fruits. But I have so many stories about IDORs. Some of them are like huge attacks, and it can be prevented by understanding how to code securely.
Exactly. And to that point also, IDOR is the initials for insecure direct object reference, which actually also implies on the solution. Because if you have a direct object reference to some object that you're not authorized for, that's an access control issue. So be very careful when implementing your access control. When you're implementing an API that fetches any sort of data, think about who's authorized to get this data. Who are the group of people who can get access to this data? It's not everyone. It's always some partial group, unless it's a super admin.
Cool. So if you want to try to solve this, if you've seen this and you want to practice, it's still live. Itzik actually showed how to hack it, but you can go back and practice and try it yourself at wizer-ctf.com. And we also have the next week's challenge, CTF 6, not next week, the CTF 6, which is the upcoming one that we're going to reveal. When is that going to happen? When are we revealing is it next week or in 2 weeks?
This one is actually here. You can see the date here. It's September 14th, 23. So it's next week.
We're revealing it. I'm talking about CTF 6. When
Yeah,
are
it's same date. Same date. We're releasing a new one and revealing the
okay? So do you
secret.
want to go to CTF 6 just to show people? Maybe we can give them a
Absolutely.
small hint or something as a
Yeah.
bonus for sticking around.
Yeah. Exactly. So
This one
before.
is actually this one was a hard one. So
Yeah.
maybe just explain what's going on here. Give them some a bit of context without revealing the solution, and we'll
Absolutely.
end with that.
Absolutely. So this piece of code is actually generating some sort of a card. Okay, it's generating some sort of a card, and we want the attacker or the developer in this case to you know kind of like render into the card, inject into the card the champ evidence line, which is, as you can see here, there's an if statement that you need to somehow find way into and be able to run it and go in there. Once you do that in the card, the champ key will appear. So the developers need to find a way to actually make the code go in here.
Cool,
Okay.
great. So Itzik, thank you very much. A for explaining and B for writing these challenges. I know how much time you're spending on this. And for all of you guys that are watching us, this is a great opportunity to share it with your team, to share the CTFs. I just can't emphasize how important it is for developers to write secure code. Not only it's good in terms of security, but it actually, I think, makes better developers because they're more explicit in what they're writing. They understand better how the framework works, and overall, it improves their overall code quality.
Right.
So yeah, with that said,
So I think Gabby, one more note before we wrap it up. I enjoy it very much because writing those, like, I learn a lot myself about different ways that things can be achieved. The challenge is always to create something small. We're trying to create a snippet that is short and to the point, just like our videos. Okay, where what we are looking at is a very specific vulnerability or a couple of vulnerabilities that lead you to capture the flag. So this is a lot of fun. I'm getting a ton of feedback from community and from people who are interested in asking questions and a lot of great ideas as well. So thank you very much. I wanted to use this opportunity also thank the people that care and are involved. They're a lot of help.
yeah. And lastly, this is free, guys. So like, if you're not taking this opportunity, sending this to your dev team, I think you are losing an amazing opportunity. So by all means, go in, try to solve it, send it to your team, and let's learn together. Until next time, take
Thank you,
care
Gabby. Thank you,
and
everyone.
bye bye.
Bye bye.